Welcome to the Political Checkmate and happy 4th day of July. And today I am going to checkmate this video of Adam Ruins Everything, Why the American Dream is a Myth. So here we go.
They're living the American dream. Here, a little hard work can take anyone from rags to riches.
I was born with one leg and no money, but I worked hard. And now I'm a billionaire. I can buy all the legs I could ever want.
Sorry, Young. America hardly has the highest rates of upward social mobility. In a ranking of 24 countries, we came in 16th.
So first off, many people have a different definition of the American Dream. This survey from AEI points out that people have different definitions of what it should be. The American Dream example, such as the freedom of choice in how to live one's life, or have a good family life. Anyway, on social mobility, the paper Adam cited places Pakistan ahead of Switzerland, America, and UK. I gotta say, shouldn't the goal in life be to have a good quality of life? Tell me with a straight face, would you live in Pakistan rather than America, even though America has a very high human development index in Pakistan? The rest of the paper talks about the impact a family has to a person. The only part I could find that is making a progressive argument is mentioning the Great Gatsby curve, where inequality ruins mobility rates. But this paper from Cambridge argues that increasing entrepreneurship through decreasing corruption and embracing property rights, so basically having more free markets, is what increases income mobility. Also, culture has a bigger impact. After all, look at Sweden, where they already have high social mobility rates before the welfare state, according to this paper from the Journal of Economic History. Also, Swedish Americans have higher incomes than people at Sweden, according to Ninba Sanajay's book, Debunking Utopia, Exposing the Myth of Nordic Socialism.
How can that be?
The truth is, if you're poor in America, no matter how hard you work, the deck is completely stacked against you. Being poor in this country is actually incredibly expensive. If you're living in poverty, you have to spend more on daily necessities because you can't afford to buy in bulk.
Wow, now I can keep my butt clean in all my vacation homes. What a deal!
You know, if I pull apart the double ply, it's actually a 2-for-1. What a deal.
And if you have a lower income, you have to spend a larger portion of your budget on basic necessities. Up to 70% of a poor American's income is spent on food, housing, and transportation. After they cover their basic expenses, on average, low-income Americans who only make $15,000 to $20,000 a year are left with just $1 a day.
No, I shouldn't splurge.
And that doesn't just make it harder to get by day to day, it also makes it harder to save money so you can live more comfortably in the future.
Well, if people need money, why don't they just apply for a credit card or get a loan? That's how I paid for my last 3 wars.
Well, that's a great idea, except that to open a bank account or credit card, our financial institutions require that you already have money or good credit.
Wait, so in order to build credit, I need a credit card, but I can't get a credit card unless I have good credit?
And if you can't save, even a small, unexpected expense can have disastrous consequences. Right now, 46% of Americans say they couldn't afford to pay a surprise bill for just $400.
Oh my God, my bike! That's how I get to work, and if I can't get to work, then I can't buy another bike. Curse this vicious cycle!
He seems lazy.
So first off, buying in bulk does not always mean you're saving money. As this Investotopia article points out, you could be spending more money than was necessary for consumption and also needing to buy more storage for the stuff you bought. A good example would be buying a 10-pound bag of potatoes even though you only really consume 3 pounds of potatoes before they expire. So on the second claim about how much a person spends on their income, there could be areas around their budget that they could save money on, such as buying generic or finding roommates to split the cost. Of course, the biggest problem with the argument, as economist Thomas Sowell points out in his book Economic Facts and Fallacies, is that this only looks at income and ignores other ways people consume goods, such as government transfer programs and using a credit card, which falls into Adam's third argument about credit cards, which I would simply point out that there are literally websites that deal with the question how to get a credit card without a credit history. Now on to the fourth argument about the $400 emergency. This argument derives from a Federal Reserve survey, and the reason why this number is so high is simply because of the way people compile the data. After all, only 12 people on the survey could not pay the expense, but it is inflated due to the fact that they don't have the cash on hand, so they put it on things like a credit card. Which there is a follow-up question about the credit card on whether they could pay all their bills in a full that month, and the response is that the majority of people can pay the bills off at about 82%. What I can tell from the data is that it looks to be more of a spending problem rather than an earning problem on the $400 emergency, since this survey from Bankrate found that the lowest earners spend 13% of their income on financial vices, such as gambling and restaurant food.
The fact is, poverty in America is almost impossible to escape without help.
No, Johnny Appleseed, what happened?
Got bankrupted by my medical bills. Turns out an apple a day doesn't keep the doctor away.
This isn't right. These are Americans. They deserve the American dream, not this nightmare.
Well, ironically, the reason they can't achieve that dream is because we all believe in it too strongly. A survey found that 70% of Americans believe that poor people can make it out of poverty on their own.
Be the change you want to see in your can, my friend.
Because we believe in this myth, we are far less willing to raise taxes or fund social programs than other wealthy nations. And as a result, we have far greater inequality. Right now, 43.1 million Americans live in poverty, while the richest 3 Americans have more wealth than the bottom 160 million combined.
We have to fix this.
Oh, well, there's a lot of things that could help.
So the poll that Annam cites could be up to a person's interpretation, but one could argue that a person believes that the only person that could lift a person up from poverty is really themselves. What I mean by this is that if you already have given up and stopped trying, then you will already have succumbed to living in poverty. But if you are a driven person who tries to succeed in school or tries to start a business or something like that, then you are more likely to get out of poverty than the person who has given up. An analogy to what I'm saying is that the only person who has cancer they can only survive is through themselves, where they push themselves to go to the doctor to get medicine compared to the person who does not go to the doctor because they don't think they can make it. Anyway, to the real argument that Anna was trying to get at about the reluctance to raise taxes or spend, well, I must say that America is a leading country of net redistribution to the bottom 50% compared to Europe when you add taxes and transfer programs to the mix, according to World Inequality Lab, while the 43 million poverty claim is pretty much how you measure it, where that amount is based upon reaching an income threshold. But if you look at the consumption poverty rate, where it looks at the material conditions of individuals or families in 2018, the consumption poverty, according to the 2 economists, is that the 1980 standard poverty rate is 2.8% of the American population. Now, with the claim of billionaires, the biggest 3 billionaires' wealth combined is $566 billion, and if you divide it by 43.1 million, you would be giving these people a one-time payment of $13,132.25 to each person, and that is assuming you can liquidate their assets fully without crashing the economy. And I must say that these entrepreneurs are already helping reduce poverty, not just through charity, but by creating jobs through their valuable products to consumers. Also, with the medical bankruptcy, this study from PubMed points out that 20% of Americans have substantial medical debt, yet in a given year, less than 1% of Americans file for personal bankruptcy. So it seems to be a contributing factor rather than a total cause. Of course, this does not mean we can't find ways to drastically reduce medical costs. There is an article from the Mises Institute that points to ways having a more free market can reduce medical costs, such as getting rid of patents. Now for the 2 solutions to poverty that Annan points to, such as free college. I would like to point to this article from Forbes where the biggest beneficiaries are the wealthy because they have the biggest tuition bills, while the poor pay 0 tuition due to financial aid from the school and government grants. I would like to say we should try to do income share agreements that John also tries to recommend for college loans. While for public housing, this article from the Brookings Institute points out that the problem with public housing is low quality housing and distracts from real problem of zoning. If you want more research against some economic pessimism of the American economy, I would recommend the book Myth of American Inequality and the American Dream is not dead, but populism can kill it. Of course, this does not mean we can't improve the economy and individuals. What I am saying is trying to show what the available data shows about the real state of the economy before we try to improve it. I would say we should try to go back to mutual aid society that historian David T. Beadle talks about in helping the poor, while for the average citizen, I would recommend the book Empowering the New American Worker, where it talks about ways to help Americans through free market fundamentals. This is the end of the video. Thank you for watching, and please donate to my Patreon so I can make more videos and have your video requests checkmated. And thanks for watching, and have a nice day.